Welcome back to Uncontested Investing Outside Marriage. Thank you so much for swinging back by. Real quick, don't forget, click below, like, subscribe, give us a rating, a review, comment, anything. We'd love to hear from you. Today, I'm here with another one of those mastermind people that I know through my travels for the last year or so, Chris Miles. Chris, thank you for flying in.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
So why don't you just take a couple seconds or a minute and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so as you can see, anti-financial advisor, right? It just means I think mutual funds suck. I used to be a financial advisor back in the day. In fact, I started out not really knowing anything about money, but as I was going through college, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business. And of course, becoming a financial advisor was one of the easy places to get into. I didn't realize all you have to do is have no criminal record and pass the test with 70%. And that's all you need to become a financial advisor. So I did that. And after several years, I realized something. And it realized that people weren't becoming financially free. And I realized this when I sat down with my dad, because he asked me, he said, Chris, I want you to come sit down with me and help me with my retirement. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the guy that taught me about save everything, spend nothing, be a tightwad your whole life. And then someday I should have happiness, right?
Right.
And in fact, he was the kind of guy that Dave Ramsey would look up to, you know, like that guy, like the guy that Dave Ramsey said, I think I could be like him.
Right.
And that's what he did. And so I go back home to Oregon where I see my dad. We sit down at his table. I look at all his finances. And he stuffed his 401k. He paid off his house early in 18 years. He was so proud of it. And I said, Dad, you're 61 years old. If you retire today, you better hope you die in 5 years, because that's how much money you actually have saved up. Okay, Chris, well, what's the answer? I don't know. You did everything right. And it was that moment I had this just big dilemma, right? What do I do? You know, do I keep going down the path that I realized it wasn't just him, it was everybody. Even people I inherited from decades of advice from other advisors, they weren't financially free either. They didn't have that hope. They were still worried about running out of money in retirement. And so when the student's ready, the teacher appears. At that moment, I'm like, what do I do? Well, I met my friend Doug, right? Doug actually was a guy that I trained to be a financial advisor, but went into real estate investing with his dad. They started doing flips and doing some different deals. And he made it very obvious. He says, Chris, really, how many of your clients are financially free? And more importantly, how many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free, not off the commissions you're earning, but actually doing these investments? So next thing you know, I realize I'm listening to this guy, drinking the real estate Kool-Aid, and end up quitting being a financial advisor. I couldn't stay in integrity and keep teaching something that I knew didn't work. And that's exactly what I did.
So we're going to talk about financial freedom, because it's one of those, it's a hot button thing in our industry that I think not a lot of people even know what it means, much less how to obtain it. Mm-hmm. But first, I would like to start with the bottom line up front. As you know, we're an attention deficit society. Someone may be listening right now and love what we're saying, but then they get a phone call and the podcast just never makes its way back on. So I want you to take up to 2 minutes. The most important thing right now that you think the audience should be doing, avoiding, focused on, paying attention to, just kind of whatever is the top of mind for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
So here's what I learned to become financially independent when I was 28. 3 things is get lean, get liquid, and get out. So get lean means start tracking your money, right? Like how much money's coming in, how much is going out, really understand your numbers, because you can't become financially independent, you can't become financially free if you don't know how much you really need to be that way. So really understanding those numbers, tracking it. Get liquid. This is something that I wish I would have done, because everything in financial advising tells you not to be liquid, right? They tell you to lock your money up. And that's kind of what the get out means, right? Is they're locking your money up in your house equity, pay off your house, lock up your money in that 401k. And yeah, it's your money, but really you can't get to that crap anyways. So get that money liquid, get it in your possession. I don't care if it's in a savings account. I don't care if it's in your backyard. Okay, I care a little bit, but make sure that of course it's in a place where you can get to it. And then get out means how can you get that in your control, and then getting it out, invested in places that generate passive income right now, not 30 or 40 years from now, if you're even alive at that point, but what can actually really truly change your life today. That is the most important point right there. You start to do those things, and that's what I found out. I didn't need to save a ton of money into my mutual funds. I had this weird idea that I would just park my money in mutual funds, save up $2 million, live on 3% for the rest of my life, which is $60,000 a year. I thought that would have been living. It wasn't, guys. That's nothing, especially nowadays after inflation. But that same $2 million, I make 1% a month, 12% a year. I'm making $200,000 a year, not $60,000 a year. Same money, but working harder for me, so I don't have to work so hard for it.
So lately I've been sharing that when I speak that I feel like my job is to teach my children that money is a tool, not a reward. And one of my favorite books ever was The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a very, very, I won't even say blue collar, I'll say redneck family. And it was all about, you have this many hours a day. You need to get up before the sun, and you need to work till the sun goes down, and you need to go to sleep and do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
And you were measured by, could you pay off your house, and could you have enough money in the bank to where you could write a check and it wouldn't bounce? Like, that was just, it was all about,
Survival.
work hard to make money. And now, after 21 years of working hard to make money, I have enough to where I can actually see that equity becomes really lazy really fast. It's not working hard for you anymore. And that's one of the big conversations we've been having. So I like when you say get liquid. Wait, hang on. Get liquid. Get out. What was in between?
Get lean, get liquid.
Get lean, get liquid. Yeah, I suck at the getting lean part. I mean, I eat way too much barbecue. But so get lean, get liquid, get out. Talk about that a little bit. Trying to set this up right. A lot of real estate investors just don't understand that if you've got $2 million worth of equity and it's a year like this where it's not growing, like, you're sliding backwards. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that? I think you know where my mind's at right now. Just take over.
Well, you mentioned like the hardworking survival kind of mentality, right? Like work hard and just hopefully things work out. And even like equity. I mean, equity is a 0% rate of return, right? And I'm not bagging on equity. I think it's great you have equity, but net worth is worthless unless it's generating income for you. And most importantly, and I see this a lot of real estate investors especially, is that so many are transactional. Like they got to keep working. They got to keep hunting for their food, right? They got to keep doing that next flip. They got to keep doing that next deal. Yet they don't have anything coming in their portfolio that's passive. Nothing that's taking care of their family's needs if they have to stop working. And then they just build a bigger mousetrap, right? Because really what they're doing is they might make millions of dollars in real estate and they look great from the outside. Everybody from the outside says, oh, you're successful, you're on the beach, you're going to travel and doing this. But in reality, they still live this life of a little bit of doubt and scarcity because they know that if they stop working, they're done. They're toast. So financially, you got to have both, right? It's great to make good income. That's great on the active side, but having that passive income, getting your actual equity and those assets to start working for you, generating actual income so that you have options, you have choices, that's the real key to freedom.
So recently, I guess it was, as we sit here, it's 4 months ago, one of my rent houses about 30 minutes from here went vacant. And I'd only seen the house once ever, and that was back in 2018. And I knew it had gone way up in value. Like, I mean, it more than doubled from when I bought it. And, so we had a ton of equity in it, but the rent definitely didn't double, right? The rent had gone up like 30, 40%, but taxes have gone up 50% and insurance has gone up 50%. So when I was looking at the cash flow numbers, I told my wife, I feel like we should sell this. And she's like, I don't know. We've got that 3.5% interest rate and we've got 150 grand worth of equity and da, 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 da. I was like, I don't know. So let's go look at it. Like, we hadn't seen them. And there was something I remembered I didn't like about the neighborhood. So we go out there, and then I remember all the things I didn't like about the neighborhood, right? Like, there's no garage for the house. It's only a 1.5 bath. It's a 2-story, and all the bedrooms are upstairs. Like, kind of all the fundamentals of real estate made it, like, not a great long-term hold.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to sell it. She's like, oh, the tax gain. I was like, no. And like, we talked about, I decided to own or finance it. And I'm going to tell you what I did, and you tell me what you think about it. So we sold this thing, and top of the market was $260. Probably we sold it for $258. We got 25 grand down. I carried back a $50,000 second lien at 12% interest, and then I've carried a first lien at like 175. The numbers I'm rounding, and I sold the 175 for 166. So anyway, I cashed out. I put about 70 grand net in my pocket now. But now I get this 12% 30-year second lien that's making me it's 479 or 497. I get it back because it's actually 53,000 and change. And I just figured it out afterwards. I told my wife, I said, "Holy crap!" She goes, "What?" I said, "We put all that money in our pocket, and our cash flow's more." Like, and that's not even before you factor vacancy and all that.
Yeah.
Because the taxes and insurance had gone so far up, and the rent was only up to like $1,800. Anyway, it was crazy. But now I told her, I said, now we just got to take that 80 grand and level it up too, right? And then but I like what you said, get out, right? Or get liquid, right? Like, you got to create in real estate investing, and everybody, if you're listening, you got to pay attention to this. We make so much money in the first year or two of owning a house, right? Because we do the value add, right? We improve it, we do, but really after that, it becomes a pretty flat investment until you
grass grow.
Right, until you get rent houses, watch the grass grow. So anyway, that's one thing I did. It's like when I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I did. I mean, I got liquid, but I also created passive income that at a 12%, because there's a lot of people listening, they don't know how to make 12%, right? How do you make 12%?
Now I do it passively. I find other people that go and do that, just like what you're trying to do, right? Those that are active investors, investing with them. It could be lending them money and saying, great, just pay me 12%, right? It could be, occasionally I could do it in a property as well. Sometimes I'll do turnkey rentals instead, where I'll have somebody else property manage. Because I realize I'm a crappy property manager.
Oh, I don't manage anything.
I'm horrible at. Plus, it's just a headache. It's just a hassle. And I want to be clear too, because even though I might put my money in places and I let somebody else do the work, right? It's still not passive. I think you kind of made that point, even though you didn't really say it, you really did, is that what you did is you became actively involved. You were really analyzing what's going on.
Yeah.
So many times I see people thinking, oh, I can just set it and forget it. Like, that's the financial advisor dream, right? Because they've trained you for so many years that you should just put your money in, stop whining and complaining, stop whining and complaining about it. Just let it sit there, let it be there long term, and hopefully it'll be there someday. And don't think about it. Because why? Because they don't want you to worry about when it loses money.
Right.
But with real estate, even if you happen to be the person not doing the active investment, still, you need to have your brain on. You need to still be analyzing those numbers like you were doing. Because you might be looking at, and I had a client do this recently where they're in California, $700,000 of equity. Their net profit was $200 a month. That's a 0.3% return on equity.
That's dead equity.
Now, in their mind, they're thinking, oh, it's a lot more because they bought it for so much less 20 years ago.
Someone else is paying off the mortgage.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was their whole goal. Like, they were just hyper-focused. They're like, I'm just going to pay off that mortgage, and then we'll have $2,200 a month.
Right.
I said, do you realize if you take that $700,000 out and only make a 10% return, even passively, they were personally managing that property for $200 a month. You get that out, $70,000 making 10%, that's $70,000 a year. That's almost $6,000 a month passive versus $200 a month.
I like those stories. I'll do it. So last week I bought this acre of land about 30 miles west of here or east of here. And it's so funny. It's an acre. It's 2 lots. It's kind of near a lake. There's 3 mobile homes, 2 that need to be torn down. It's a jungle, literally. Mm-hmm. I called my surveyor and he's like, I'm going to charge you $3,000 to survey this. He was like, why? He's like, I'm going to get poison ivy and I have to take a machete. So like, this is just. But the crazy thing was, I'm going to tell you this, like, we paid cash for it. I think it was like $28,000 that we wired out. I literally sold it earlier today to the tree guy that I sent to go do it. But you'll love this because he wants to fix it up and then sell it.
Yeah.
I said, I'll tell you what, give me 60 grand, 10 grand down, 14% interest for the next 12 months. He goes, done. So now you hear 14% interest, you think, wow, that's a lot of money. But it's actually, I'm making 14% on the total. But if you really, it's 14% on a 40K markup and then 14% on my my 18K basis, like my return is astronomical.
Yeah.
And my wife got all excited about that, right? And I was like, this is the problem when you get in that rut of just let's wholesale this, let's flip this, let's flip that. You may make big chunks of money, but you just got to go make it again next month.
That's right.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. I want to come back and talk about financial freedom because that's something I think a lot of people don't understand. Stick around. We'll be right back. Here at RCN Capital, we understand that everyone's financial needs are different. Whether you're pursuing long-term or short-term ventures, our wide range of loan programs will help reach your financial goals with ease and flexibility.
We have loan programs for fix and flips, long-term rentals, new construction, and multifamily properties. And don't forget to ask about our Platinum program for experienced investors. To learn more about our loan programs or apply, click the link in our bio or email info@rcncapital.com.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. I'm here with Chris Miles. Chris, I want to dive right in because when you ask any real estate investor, I mean, maybe not any, 99,000 out of 99,001. You say, why did you get into this? Financial freedom. Why'd you get into this? To become a millionaire. Like, it's all about the money and the financial freedom. And then you get around our people, and they're the most miserable SOBs you ever met in your life. They work from before sun up, when the contractors start calling, till late at night bouncing settlement statements and trying to figure out where all their money went. And my wife and I have these conversations, even just, too. It's what is financial freedom, right? Is it enough money? Is it, FU money? Is it you're renting a boat in the, Greek Isles every summer? What is financial freedom? And how do you help people even know what that means?
That's a great question because I see two different terms. There's financial independence and financial freedom. Financial independence is more that calculated number, right? How much are my expenses every month? How much passive income I need to make to be able to pay for those expenses, right? But financial freedom is in my opinion, a much deeper meaning. There's an emotional aspect to it as well. It's really the point where you say, money is no longer the determining reason or factor that I do or not do anything. It could be like FU money, but it could be much sooner than that, right? It might just be at the point where you become more non-attached, where you feel more confident knowing that you're taken care of no matter what.
So I was on a podcast recently, and I said something like, well, I'm at the point where I don't really need money. And their first question was, well, then why are you still doing this? And, I was like, well, let me tell you a story, because in 2018, I basically retired, and I flipped a house here and there, but you should see my beard. Like, it was like, I had the mountain man beard, and, but when I came back into the real world in 21, when my friend and the founder of RCN called me, it was so intellectually rewarding to be back around big numbers, right? We'll do 1.6, 1.7 billion this year. We're doing 150, 160 million a month. A couple hundred loans a week. It's exciting. Coming here and talking to you, it gets my blood boiling. But it's I need to ask myself these questions more.
Yeah.
I need to always be focused on get lean, get liquid, get out. Because it's not just in business, it's not just in your financial, it's in a property, right? Do we need the full cable for the Airbnb? Maybe not, right? One of the best days for my Airbnbs is YouTube TV. You get for $199, you get 5 licenses. So I got full direct TV, what's it called? Sunday ticket at every property for $199 for 5. Anyway, so I'm going way off the rails here. But when that lady asked me, she said, why are you still doing this? I'm like, and I also feel like I'm setting a good example for my children. Before, what my 13-year-old was watching a couple years ago, I wasn't really a great example. Dad took him to school in his pajamas and might still be in his pajamas when he picked him up after school. But I wasn't a loser. He's like, oh no, my dad founded a publicly traded company. He's just at Walmart right now. Yeah, he's just my dad, and he eats a lot of barbecue and cooks all day. And as you can see, so you were talking earlier about ways. I want to go back because you had me on your show recently. What is money ripples? That's your thing. I see it all the time. What is money ripples?
When I was looking to rebrand and start a new company, I started this company, Money Ripples, 11 years ago. I was trying to find that perfect name. I was looking for something with the website with cash flow or passive income or something like that, right? And I kind of went back to the why, which is what you're talking about here. What's the real why? Because people ask, well, if you're financially free, why are you doing this?
Right.
Why are you working so hard? Well, obviously the reason you're asking that question is because you've never been financially free yourself. Because if you're there, you get it. You realize that it's about living a life of purpose and meaning. And I remember I was out for a run one day, and as I was doing that, I was like, what is the real vision I have? And the vision was, I was thinking about this particular couple that we helped in South Dakota, right? Great couple. He was working 6 days a week, just slaving away. And finally, we were able to improve his cash flow by $6,000 a month, where he felt permission to take the weekends off with his family. And remember that $6,000, he did something that Dave Ramsey would have been pissed about. So he went and bought a four-wheeler with that $6,000 that first month. And his wife just said, Chris, you don't understand. That four-wheeler was the best investment ever. Because what happens is that we were able to take that four-wheeler now. He's here on the weekends with the family. We're on that four-wheeler. We're playing every weekend. She's like, my kids got their dad back, and I got my husband back.
And he got a four-wheeler.
And he got a freaking four-wheeler, right? And so that's the thing is like that I realized like that didn't just bless their life. It blessed his kids' life, set a new example, like the legacy you're kind of talking about for your kids, right? It created a new legacy for them, but it also creates a ripple effect because when you prosper more financially, you have a greater ability to bless more lives. And as a result, that you think about what you can do for the community now, what you can do for the country, and ultimately across the world when you're liberated, when you're free. And that's when that ripple effect hit my mind, and there's like the name Money Ripples hit.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're about. It's about working because you want to, not because you have to. That you live a life of meaning, that you're able to bless more lives because you are prosperous. Yeah, I can sit around just like you did, right? I can grow out my beard. I did that when I went to Hawaii, like earlier this winter when we went to Snowbird. Yeah, I can go do that stuff and just say, forget it all. But what's my real purpose in life? Right. What am I here on this planet to do? What did God create me to do here that can help me bless more lives? That, I believe, each one of us have that individual answer. We have this individual purpose that allows us to leave this footprint on a planet that nobody else can. And that's exactly why we exist. That's why we're here, to help people become more free.
I was in Manhattan last week, just having these conversations with very large institutions that a guy like me shouldn't be able to have, you would think, unconventional wisdom, right? Like, I didn't go to college. I went to the Marine Corps to learn how to kill people. And Jeff, the founder CEO, was nominated for the New York area Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. And so we went to this big gala, and it's all tuxedos and there's a company called Farmer's Dog. I met the CEO, Farmer's Dog kind of saved our dog's life. Like, it was so cool to do that. And I'll say late at night, I won't say what time, it's me and the CEO, and we're eating New York pizza in tuxedos on the sidewalk. I wish I had a picture of it, because how cool. But I think what people don't understand is but then I got up at 6 a.m. the next morning and got home, right? I have the freedom to take whatever flight I want to take and leave, come and go when I please. But those experiences, in my family, I'm texting them pictures of what I'm doing at night, and everybody's like, that's so cool. I feel like living a life worth living, to use, I think that's a song or something, shows your children, kind of how you need, for me, it's my kids. Everything I do is my kids. It kind of shows them how they should be, right? And keep setting new examples every month.
Yeah.
So, Money Ripples. Now, is that just your podcast? Do you still do normal traditional financial traditional financial planning?
No, definitely not. What we do is we're more strategists and connectors, right? We have two different arms in our business, but what we do is we help clients one-on-one, help them strategize, figure out what they can do to get their money out and where they can put it, right? What can they actually do that's in the alternative investment space, like real estate investing? That's the big thing that we do there. So helping people get into the alternative investment space, create enough passive income where they are work optional, where they get to work because they want to, not because they have to. So that's a big thing we do. We also do infinite banking as a strategy that add to that with real estate investing.
Could you teach me about that in 60 seconds?
Oh my goodness.
I keep hearing about it, and Chris Noggles, a friend of mine, and I keep hearing about it, but I've never done anything with it.
Easiest thing with this is that it's a tax-free supercharged savings account, right? That's really what it is. You use whole life insurance, which I used to teach as a financial advisor being a crappy thing to do, right? It's like, you don't make any money in that. Go invest in the stock market where you make no money and lose it too. But this is actually a tax-free supercharged savings account allowing you to be able to create more money and essentially be able to double dip with your money by having it invest in two places at the same time. Because you can actually make money inside the policy, but you can get a bank line of credit or even an insurance line of credit against it to invest wherever you want and still get all the tax breaks as a real estate professional and everything. And so it allows your money to be in two places working at the same time. So even if somebody says passively, I'm going to make 12% a year, well, cool, guess what? Now you can add at least another 1, 2, 3% on top of that 12%, just accelerating, throwing more fuel in the fire to get out of the rat race faster.
So I have a whole life policy. I should talk to you about this.
That's pretty good.
Because I'm not doing anything with it, just paying for it.
Yeah. And by the way, don't buy the crappy ones. When Dave Ramsey rips on it, there's a good reason. Most whole life policies are absolutely just crap. All right.
Yeah.
Don't buy those traditional ones. There are better ways to design it, even better than the traditional infinite banking ways of doing it too. So yeah, there are ways to do it, but just know that they're not all the same.
So normally I would wait till the end of the show and say, how do people learn more about that? But how do I learn more about that?
Yeah, you can actually go to our YouTube channel, Money Ripples. We got a channel right there. We actually got an infinite banking playlist you can watch right there.
Gotcha. All right. So I'll take a break and go what now? All right. So infinite banking, how to cash flow, consulting advisory. Am I missing anything?
No, that's pretty much it.
So the Federal Reserve recently did not raise rates. Yay! Jerome Powell's been all over everyone that'll let him have a microphone saying he's going to raise rates. Given the rate environment, now you and I have enough gray hair to know that 6% interest isn't high.
Yeah,
but we have a recency bias in our speed of information society, so it's high. What are some ways people are making outsized returns in order to kind of conquer inflation and still, because if you're only making 3% in your market account or your mutual fund, you're in reverse.
Yeah.
Pretty fast in reverse, like the last couple of years, right? What are some other ways people are kind of getting those outsized returns?
It's interesting because as interest rates change, it does make it a little bit tougher. Like, for example, buying a property, trying to cash flow now when you buy it with a mortgage is tougher, right? I mean, you're going to be paying more for that money. It means your cash on cash returns could be less. It doesn't mean it's always bad. I still think there's really good reasons to still buy real estate. I'm still pretty bullish on it. But you might end up buying a property where you might just buy it outright in cash,
Right.
You might do that. I still love leverage in the bank. Like you, I still think it's low interest, relatively speaking. But in fact, here's the biggest tip I would give. Whatever people are telling you not to do, do that.
I love it.
Because, whenever people say, like last year, 2022, when everybody was saying, well, don't hold cash because you're going to lose to inflation, what did I start doing? I started holding cash, right? It's kind of like what Buffett says, when everybody's running one direction, you run the other, right? It's like the Avengers, they run towards the action. They're not running away with the mass of the people. You ignore the masses and run the opposite direction of them. So when everybody's saying, oh, real estate's bad, that means it's still pretty dang good.
Right.
So even oil and gas, like right now oil prices have been going down. Well, I've been investing in oil and gas too. And I've been finding great returns there, again, passively investing. Even in places like raw land. We've been doing a lot of stuff. I have a partnership with raw land. Still a great time to buy a lot of raw land, sell on terms and things like that, making great money. Lending. You mentioned interest rates are going up. That's great if you're the lender. So funny enough, having cash actually makes you king because everybody else got their money deployed. It's all locked up. They can't do anything with it. They're not liquid. And as a result, they miss out on these opportunities to be able to say, well, great, the interest rates are going up. That means people want my money more. I can even charge a more premium rate for that.
Yeah, and if you're actually in the camp that thinks rates will go down in the next 12 to 24 months, if anyone out there is, then great. You lock in at a 12% that you're loaning it to someone at 4%. Rates drop, you're making an even higher market kind of spread.
Right.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to do the Money Minute and some rapid fire. You good?
Let's do it.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com, to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. Don't forget, click below, like, subscribe, rate, review, comment. Let us know what you think. Chris, it is time for the Money Minute. The Money Minute, honestly, after doing this for over a year now, it's become my favorite part because everyone takes it kind of like their own direction. So 60 seconds, there's an entrepreneur out there. There's only 60 seconds of advice they're going to get all month. It's got to be your best stuff, the go juice. You ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
If you're an entrepreneur, profit has got to be the number one focus. Real estate investors get hosed all the time because they keep focusing on revenue, on how much money they make is the big part of the deal, but never how much they get to keep. Profit is essential for business success, is essential for freedom and your peace of mind, and especially when things turn south. And yes, believe it or not, even though I love real estate, it can actually have crappy days or crappy years. If that happens, profit is the thing that's going to carry you through. So make sure you're not just focused on profit, but then keeping some of that profit, not just reinvesting in your business all the time. Person that reinvests in their business is not really profitable. They're just spending more money. Reinvest your business is great, but keep some of that profit, keep cash on hand, keep those reserves just in case things dry up for a period of time so that you know you can make smart, logical decisions and come out on top.
Profit. One of my first mentors in this business 20-something years ago, I've always been a student of the game, and I just ask a lot of questions. I was like, hey, Murray, what's the secret to business? He's like, man, think of your business as like a retail store. I said, He goes, you have a really big front door and keep the back door locked. I go, what do you mean? He goes, just let as much money as you can in and don't let any out. And I was like, that's stupid. But then as I've grown very large businesses, and they lately a lot of conversation about the difference between growth and scale, right? Growth is growth for the sake of growth, no matter the profit. Scale is growth while remaining profitable. And yeah, that's hard. In a rising interest environment, in a rising cost environment, in a rising wage environment, in an environment where like employees became like the one that was interviewing you, like you kind of like, please start work. And well, we need to talk about it. It's been difficult. So what are some ways, you mentioned getting lean, and then you just mentioned profit. What are some things you see that people need to do, or people do when people are trying to get lean and get profitable? What are some things they do?
The first thing you do is start tracking your money, like really looking at the numbers. And that's not just in your personal life, that's even in your business, especially in your business. For example, if you're putting money into ad spend, well, what's the return on your ad spend? Do you know? And with which source? And which one should you put more money in or less money in? And at what point does that money you put into it become less of a profit, right? Where it has that law of diminishing interest, where all of a sudden now you're just putting more money away and losing it. If you're always on top, and I mean doing this on at least a weekly basis, right? And I know for someone who's an entrepreneur, especially if you're like the person that's the visionary, you just want to go, I know you don't want to slow down, you don't want to stop, but you got to be able to assess and know where you are. Otherwise, you're going to keep running your tail off, right? You're going to be running forever, and then looking back and saying, what happened? Like, where did my life go? You're going to start singing Cats in the Cradle, all that kind of stuff, and being all depressed. So you got to make sure you're just really focusing on the numbers, watching what's coming in, what's working, and going for the best thing. Another great book, two great books, and both by the same author, Mike Michalowicz, right? Profit First is a great book to read. I recommend just going to that if you want to learn more about that. And they're all on audiobook because I listen to audiobook all the time. But the second one that actually changed my business and got me actually out of the rat race faster the second time when I had to get out of the rat race was The Pumpkin Plan. And that book, same author, Mike Michalowicz, he talks about those prize-winning pumpkins. You hear about those, the huge ones that make the news, right? Well, they buy the same seeds from Nova Scotia, and they might pay up to $100,000 to get these seeds so they can have this prize-winning pumpkin. And when they plant them, assuming it actually grows and does what they hope it does, well, eventually, as those pumpkins start growing on the vine, they start chopping off the smallest pumpkins until eventually that vine feeds one large pumpkin and all the nutrients goes to that one thing. My business changed. I remember in 2015, I went through a divorce. It was horrible. It was, even though I've been over $1 million in debt, I've been in financial dire straits. that was the hardest time for me emotionally because I didn't have my kids with me all the time.
Right.
But it got me to reevaluate everything. I said, do I want to shut down my business and kill money ripples at this point? And I started reevaluate saying, you know what, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week in this business. Is it worth it? And so I started looking at my business activities, the ones that were giving me the most. You hear the Pareto's principle, the top 20%, right? And it gives you the 80% return. I said, let's Pareto the heck out of the Pareto's principle. Let's take the top 20% of the 20%. So the top 4% gives me 96%. I started going through, I cut out all these activities and things I was spending in my business, cut it down to where I just had the main revenue generating machine in my business, the highest profit thing. And the crazy thing is my revenue, even though I started working 5 or 10 hours a week, not 50 or 60, my revenue doubled that year, but my profit 8 times, it octupled, or however you say it, right?
Octupled works if you're talking about profits.
It's not quite Cardone 10X,
Yeah.
but it's octupled, right? I 8X'd it. Just in the same year, it completely revolutionized my business because I focused on what was the best activity I could possibly do.
And I think that's very important in this world of social media. There are a lot of people online that get a ton of attention, but are living paycheck to paycheck. And I've joked around sort of like you can't cash a popularity check. It's just like everybody loves you. Great. That doesn't help.
So what?
Yeah. Right. But different businesses need different things. Like, for instance, this podcast, like we spend money on this show. I devote my time, but we don't have a metric for it. It's an investment in the long term. And we actually have intentionally, a year in now, Monday, we have our first meeting to discuss the metrics. Yeah. It's just one of those, like, we believe in what we're doing. We know we're sowing good in the community. We know we're providing value. Kind of figure the rest out later. Josh Kohler from the Family Mastermind. Josh does our producing and our social media stuff. And I just told the marketing team, let's take a holistic look. Like, have our YouTube subscribers grown? Have our Instagram people followed, and the Facebook people, and the TikTok people, and native web searches? Like, just kind of a holistic approach, and then we'll come up with something that we measure. But we were very intentional that we did not want to generate. This isn't about this isn't a revenue generating activity, right? Now, when we invest in the Family Mastermind, love you, Matt, that's a revenue generating expense, right? Like, we know what we're paying, we know what it costs to send our people there, and we track those relationships. And that's one of those, I love having fill or kill decisions, right? Like, let's do it or not. Like, like fill as in fulfill it, or kill as in no more. But then you talked earlier about getting lean, and we waste a lot of money these days. I mean, all the subscriptions. Have you gone through your Apple subscriptions recently?
Yeah.
I was paying for stuff that I had no idea. What are some common things you see people like paying for that they need to like really think twice about?
Yeah, definitely the subscriptions. Like, for example, do you have like multiple CRM type of stuff going on, right? Like, how many things are you paying for that you should be? No, I'm sure you don't understand that.
Not a MCN, but my house buying business may.
Yeah, but like, you're right. Like, what really get into efficiency, right? I like simplicity and efficiency. Like, how can I simplify and make this easier? We actually had to do that recently within our business. We were hiring somebody to do various aspects of some of our media. When we realized we could actually have it packaged all with one person, we said, well, why not do that?
Right.
And then we even get this on top of it too. So we actually get more value for the bang for your buck. Again, I'm not opposed to spending a lot of money. I'm opposed to not getting good value for money, right? Like, I like a good return on my investment with wherever I spend my money. Funny enough, I mean, you mentioned the podcast, right? I mean, that's aside from the expenses, but I put money into that as well because it was a way to give back. But I found out inadvertently, it actually opened so many other doors I never knew were possible.
Right.
But yeah, definitely subscriptions is a big thing for sure. Marketing spend, I mean, that's a big one I see. Is that a lot of times people are just throwing spaghetti on the wall. And it's good to test marketing, but test it, measure it, and pivot and change it, make direction changes when you need to make it.
I'm always telling our salespeople, it's like, stop putting other as the reason someone called us. Like, you know, I mean, it's because we spend a lot of money on advertising at RCN Capital, and we are very clear when it's a kind of direct response type ad, or if it's, and there's some industry associations that we support that, you know, are important to us, and they're important to the longevity of the industry. There are charities that we contribute to. Obviously, there's no ROI there, right? But I hear investors all the time like, oh, well, that's a write-off. I'm like, but do you need any? Like, I mean, if you're broke, you don't really need a write-off.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't want to spend money just to try to save on taxes because you never get 100% back.
Right.
Yeah.
This depreciation's been such a game changer.
We need your help. Wherever you are, stop what you're doing right now and rate us on whatever platform you're listening on. Take a screenshot of your review and click the link in the description for your chance to win some uncontested investing AirPods. A winner will be picked on July 11th.
So we're going to run out of time here. So Money Ripples, the podcast, and then Money Ripples, the company. So is that like is that a membership thing? Is that a consulting thing? Could you tell me a little bit about like what your company does?
Yeah, so we have one-on-one consulting where we help clients really figure out ways to get out of the rat race, right? Like it's like Rich Dad Poor Dad actually applied. You know, how can you actually get that to work for you in more of a strategic way? You know, so we do help clients one-on-one with that. We mentioned infinite banking earlier, right? And helping design like what I call max ROI infinite banking, like how do you get the best bang for your buck so that it does work in the real estate investing space specifically. Those are really the two things that we do, is really helping people do that. Yeah, we got some group coaching stuff, but ultimately it really comes down to education, right? Education to help you create more freedom in your life today.
And if someone wants to listen to your podcast, how do they find it?
iTunes, YouTube, you know, you can find it pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you just go to moneyripples.com and you can also connect it through there.
Oh, so we'll just go to moneyripples.com. We'll look up Chris Miles. We'll follow your podcast. We'll pay you for coaching, and you'll teach me how to use the life insurance I already own.
Yeah. Perfect life.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, social media handles?
All at Money Ripples.
Man, that's so simple, right? It's almost like being named Tim Harridge.
I know.
There's no other ones. Like, it's just, I'm at Tim Harridge. Like, it's just so simple.
Yeah, that's why you can't look up Chris Miles, because you'll find either a basketball player or a little kid rapper, and I'm not that kid rapper.
But, you can have aspirations, Chris.
One of these days, people will look up Chris Miles and find me.
Yeah. Or you'll become a rapper and a basketball player.
I'll just do that.
All right, man. Well, we're out of time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning back in. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, your network is your net worth. And today you've been growing both. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Uncontested Investing Show. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time. The preceding program is furnished by RCN Capital, LLC. The information provided is for general education purposes only and does not constitute any legal, financial, investment, or other professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by any speaker are the speaker's own opinion and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of RCN Capital, LLC. No information contained in this episode should be construed as financial, investment, or legal advice from RCN or any individual, author, host, or guest. You should always consult a financial advisor before investing.